The North Bears women are having a historic run in NBL1 East, coming out of the gates 10-0 for an undefeated season so far. But this weekend, they'll face their biggest challenge of the year against the Newcastle Falcons, who have only dropped one game. There's also plenty of top quality competition in the women's, who we'll take a look at a little later. But the question still remains, can the North Bears stay undefeated? Welcome to 2 Feet into Pain. What an incredible season the North Bears women are having, and what a privilege it has been to commentate some of their games. It's really basketball at its best. I mean, let's just start off with some stats. They're leading the league in points per game, bench points, most assists per game. They're second in 3-point percentage. They've got the best field goal percentage, best defensive rating, and most points off fast breaks. And North Bears, they've really done it from all over the court, defensively, offensively. It has just been a clinic. It's been great basketball to watch. Now, let's have a look at what has led to this success under coach Renee Garlop. Starting with their star player and leading MVP rankings at the moment, it is Carla Pitman, who is really in career best form, coming off a breakout season with the Sydney Flames, finally started to get some minutes in that WNBL system. She's averaging 18 points, 10 rebounds, and that 10 rebounds is huge, but we'll get back to that in just a moment, and 6 assists. So that's NBL1 East career highs in rebounding, assists, steals, and also free throw percentage. But those rebounds are huge. I mean, previously Carla Pitman only averaged about 3, 4, 5 rebounds a game, but to average 10 rebounds is a testament to how much she's put time in the gym, especially to that strength and conditioning, which I think has been a big part of Carla Pitman's elevation. Her physical play has also led to a lot of opportunities on the offensive end as well. She just seems to be bullying her way to the basket. Of course, has those signature baseline drives, which are a big part of her game, but even just getting into the paint, using that footwork, using that strength to finish, that's been a huge part. One thing that Carla did say she is working on is that mid-range game and trying to become more consistent with a three-pointer. Shooting a decent 30% from three-point, but you can definitely see Carla Pitman's mechanics top-notch, and I think that's what you get when you're training all year round to improve your game. This season, she's really showed off she has a well-rounded talent set. The 6 assists per game proves that she is a good teammate, and I think that's been huge for the North's offense, just being able to get that dribble penetration through people like Maddie O'Hehir and Carla Pitman and look for those kickouts for threes or those dump-offs in the paint. That's really made their offense roll quite well. And speaking of Maddie O'Hehir, the former Sydney Flame is just having one of her best seasons. And who would have thought? I think she said the other day, this is maybe her 15th or 16th season with Norths, playing through juniors and also through the senior leagues as well. But she is really back in WNBL form. And I got to say, Sydney Flames, I mean, maybe go knock on the door of Maddie O'Hehir. See if she wants to go around for another season. She's averaging 20 points per game and doing it off such an efficient shooting percentage, 43%. And that has really elevated North's offense. They're not wasting many possessions. And I think it is because the way North share the ball around, Maddie's getting a lot of open shots. On the flip side, that three-pointer is looking automatic this year. And late in shot clock situations, I think Maddie has that signature kind of jab step three, where she fakes the drive and then just pops up for a three-pointer, gets a great elevation on her jump shot, and the form is just impeccable. And that's really helped Norths in a lot of late shot clock situations, or when they're in need of a basket desperately. The fact you can just throw it to Maddie on the perimeter and she can get those threes off pretty easily. But also Maddie has signature driving game, that 1-2 step, we call it on the commentary. That's been impeccable all season. And whether it's finishing through contact and going to the basket or drawing a foul, that has been so effective in getting Norths those extra points and really demoralizing the defense. She is shooting 76% from the free throw line, and that is an NBL1 career high for Maddie O'Hehir. 76%, that's pretty solid. So again, much with the jab step threes, those drives can be a great option when North's offense is stagnating a little bit or they need a basket quickly. Maddie O'Hehir has just really stepped up this year and she's having an incredible season. Let's go back in the WNBL. Meanwhile, coming off the bench, Australian Gems representative and California uni commit Ruby Perkins is showing off. She's putting on an absolute clinic off the bench. 13 points per game, and that's not in heavy minutes either. She'll just come on and start lighting it up, and Ruby Perkins is just lightning quick. Her finishing around the basket has been impeccable, considering she's really not the biggest player, but Ruby Perkins is not phased whatsoever going to the basket. Her 3-point shot as well has been ultra consistent, but with Ruby Perkins, that sixth player, that first person off the bench role has just suited her so well to come on and just provide electric energy and carve up the reserves from other teams. Of course, she is heading off to college, I think next year. So enjoy it while it lasts, ladies and gentlemen. Ruby Perkins, for a $10 ticket, that's pretty good value. And of course, will be part of the Australia team later this year. Another young player who has been stepping up big time for the Bears has been Peggy Schell. And if you ask any of the Bears players who's someone who's underrated, who's gone under the radar, it is Peggy Schell. She's gone a whole new level. With Sarah Schicker moving on and M. Simons no longer in the team, there was a big void there in the paint. But Peggy Schell has come into the starting lineup and proved that she belongs. She's doing the dirty work, as she always does. A great basket-to-basket big. You don't see too many of them anymore, but, you know, basket-to-basket, in back on defense, then running and looking for those cutting lanes or those post-ups. But a big part of her game, which is taken to the next level, has been a 3-point shooting. We saw in just their last game against the Inner West Bulls, Peggy was on fire from 3. It's like she's put a lot of work into, and it is paying off. It's been really exciting to see Peggy Schell develop year in, year out. She's got all the tools, especially physically. She's a super athlete, and now you can see the skill level is there to match it as well. Something that is extremely scary for the opposition is Jolene Anderson, the 2023 Grand Final MVP, and Star 5 at Nationals in that same year, is back with the Bears. And we've said a lot about Jolene Anderson, so we won't harp on too much about it in this episode, but she is the perfect import and the perfect teammate. Not looking to get in there and jack up as many shots as she can, has a very low usage rate, but makes the most of every touch, whether that's just a catch and shoot situation or moving the ball on. She's a great playmaker, but we've also seen her step up in rebounding. Last game against the Inner West Bulls had 11 rebounds, which was just indicative of the type of player that you're going to get from Jolene Anderson. It's that win at all costs mentality and just fitting in when needed. Because we've got Maddie O'Hehir, you've got Carla Pitman, they're definitely the stars of this team. But to just have that complementary third piece on offense, Jolene Anderson, another kind of instant bucket player, that just brings everything together. And Jolene will score maybe 6 points a game, or she'll score 25 points a game, whatever is required to win. She is the perfect import. But also joining her, which was some of the biggest news, and we're very excited to see, is Issy Morgan is back in red and black. After 4 years at Davidson, 4 really good years at Davidson, her game converted over really well to NCAA competition. Can really fit in where needed, but we remember her back in Waratah days was already tearing up at such a young age, but now has 4 years of college experience under her belt, and she's going to be bigger, better, stronger, and more highly skilled if that is possible. She's going to be a perfect fit, especially when it comes to perimeter defense and on-ball defense, which is a big part of Renee Gallup's system, but also is a efficient shooter, and would be surprised to see her shooting much improved after 4 years at college. I can't stress that enough. Players normally come back and they just have gone to a totally new level of maturity, of skill, of athleticism. But that's not to forget as well that Issy Morgan is very effective off the dribble. She's a quick player and really, really strong. She's an athlete that really takes care of her body, puts a lot of time into strength, conditioning, fitness, getting that stamina up. So Issy Morgan attacking the basket, shooting threes, but most importantly, providing that perimeter defense for the North Bears. Her and Caitlyn Martin is going to be an absolute ripper of a backcourt combination. So it's really good to see Issy Morgan back in the red and black, and that just takes North to a whole new level. We're talking about players, though, who came back from college who have really stepped their game up. Emma Donnelly has been great this year. After spending some time at Iona State, she's chose to come back home to Australia, and we are so happy to see it, because Emma Donnelly, she's grown. And she's also put on a lot of muscle as well. So she's looking very sharp out there. She's averaging 12 points and 6 rebounds. But what stands out most is her versatility. She can play off ball in a catch and shoot situation. That 3-point shot's looking really good. But also get inside, get you rebounds, do some post-ups as well. Also seen a few of the patented turnaround and fire shots. She's just looking like a whole new ball player. She's gone to the next level. She was an underrated part of that championship team a couple of years ago, but now Emma Donnelly, she's starting games, some games coming off the bench, but is a perfect complementary piece to everything else that's going on with Norths. And great to have someone who can play the perimeter and play the paint, because that really helps you with matchups defensively and offensively. Speaking of players returning from college, another big signing for the North Bears, Imogen Greenslade. No way, she's back in the Bear Cave. And people in New South Wales basketball remember her as an absolute powerhouse in the paint. She is a force in there. And also returning to her junior club, which is just great to see. Love that homecoming story. Played college ball at Arizona State and most recently at Montana. Unfortunately, had a lot of injury issues in her time in college. Played 4 games for Montana, and then got injured, and then sat out her last season. So we're yet to see how she'll look returning from those injuries, but I think Imogen Greenslade at her full potential is going to be one of the best bigs in the league. And again, even despite the injuries, being in those college programs really does help elevate young players to a whole new level. They're living, breathing, working out, everything is basketball. The whole world is basketball. Of course, a bit of study as well, but that environment, I think, just really nurtures players. And then you see them come back to NBL1 East and dominate. And that was a big position of concern for the Bears. As we said before, Sarah Shuka, M. Simons moving on. So a few bigs moving on, but that's why you get Jess Bargate back, who's done a really good job coming off the bench as well. Peggy Schell's filling the void. Maddie Delmaida's giving you good minutes here and there. But to have Imogen Greenslade as that 4th big or 5th big with Emma Donnelly in the rotation just makes one of North's, I guess, thinner positions a lot stronger. So welcome back to the Bear Cave, Imogen Greenslade. As we've seen season in, season out, Coach Renee Garlop has implemented such a good system that fits this side, and this team has a strong identity. Any given night, one of these players could give you 20 points. That's mainly thanks to the ball movement. When Norths are moving the ball, they're pretty much unstoppable. It's a kind of pick your poison situation for the defense. But that helps to unlock the potential of so many different players. We've seen that already this season. Many different players popping off for 20 on any given night. But that's also to go along with their incredible defense. Fast, strong, physical, great communication out there on defense. I know Coach Renee Garlop really stresses that, because defense wins championships. It's the old cliche, but it is true. And that's really helped to get them run on the fast break. They've got the most fast break points in the league this season. And that shows, because that starts with the defense. So the question remains, with North's undefeated, who can knock them off the perch? Now let's have a look at 3 teams that I think could do it. That's not to say this season's anywhere near done, because we know this women's competition has so many great teams in it. Let's just take a look at 3 who are in red hot form at the moment who could challenge the Bears. Starting this weekend, it's going to be the Newcastle Falcons. Now, the Newcastle Falcons, coming off a championship last season, really haven't taken a back step. They're still in sensational form, despite a fair bit of player turnover. Some familiar faces moving on, some new faces coming in. But they've only suffered 1 loss this season, which came last week to the Bankstown Bruins, thanks to an incredible performance by Redmond and Shyla Hill as well. 2 new signings for the Bankstown Bruins. But it's nothing to take away from the season that the Newcastle Falcons have had already. They're 2nd in the league in rebounding, 2nd in assists, and their star player, Nicole Munger, is still in MVP form. The 2-time MVP, just at it again. Again, after another season under her belt with the UC Capitals, she's coming back and averaging 21 points, 14 rebounds, and 6 assists. Nicole Munger just makes it work for the Newcastle Falcons, and as long as you got her on your team, you have a chance of beating anyone. We've talked about Nicole Munger a lot on this channel, so I won't keep on going on about how good she is, but we're so lucky to have her in our league, and it's great to see that loyalty year in, year out. But she really does unlock the Falcons, because she is also one of their top playmakers, which I think is an underrated part of Nicole Munger's game, with her 6 assists per game. We're talking about players leaving. I think Isla Juffermans was a big loss for them, but replaced almost perfectly with Nicole Munger's UC Capitals teammate Meg Jefferson, and she is having her best season so far in NBL1 East. Last few seasons was, I think, stuck in less than ideal situations. Penrith's first year in NBL1 East was very rocky. Then a season with Hills as well. Didn't quite go to plan, but now with the Newcastle system, she is thriving alongside Nicole Munger, putting up 15 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and just proven to be a huge force in the paint. Meg Jefferson's got really good footwork, got great hands as well, and I think defensively is having to shoulder a lot less burden than she has from past years, so foul trouble hasn't been as much of an issue this year. She's been a perfect complementary piece to Nicole Munger, running those pick and rolls, providing an option in the paint, but also being able to step out a little bit and knock down those mid-ranges. Meg Jefferson's looking like a perfect fit for the Newcastle Falcons. Another player to highlight as well who has really stepped up is Sophie Brennan, averaging 12 points per game, and I think was involved with the UC Capitals program in the off-season. I could be wrong, but I think maybe training with them, and you can just tell that has taken her game to the next level. She's becoming a really reliable three-point shooter, and on a team that really needs shooting, like alongside Kate Kingham, Sophie Brennan is great at just opening that floor up, spotting up, and being a consistent shooter. Still very young as well, so it's really great to see a Newcastle junior getting the opportunity to step up on the highest level, and it's been a great complementary piece, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her being the third option, second option in games. Again, depending on matchups and the flow of the game, how things are going, but Sophie Brennan is capable of popping off for 20 points a game. So she's really taken her game to the next level, kind of filling that Alyssa Brett void that I think Newcastle is missing at the moment. Another Newcastle junior making big waves as well is Hannah Chicken. Big shout out to Hannah Chicken. Defensively, she's been phenomenal alongside Meg Jefferson, and again just provides another look. If they're playing big ball, the opposition, chuck Hannah Chicken out there. If they're playing a little smaller, you might move Nicole Munger to the 4. Havas as well, who we'll get to in just a minute. But Hannah Chicken having a great season, also averaging 12 points per game. We did just mention a moment ago, Giselle Havas is starting to look dangerous. Their newest import comes to Newcastle after playing a college career at Lafayette and in the Duke system as well. So may have played alongside Mahady. We'll have to look that one up. But she's proving to be a very versatile forward. Now, a big shout out to our friends over at East Got Game. They did review the Newcastle Bankstown game, and they were very generous in giving me a bit of a scouting report on Giselle Havas, because I haven't had a chance to watch a full game of her, just some highlights, but is looking very good already. Definitely has the ability to step out and space the floor, but I think is one of those versatile bigs who can get into the paint and do the dirty work as well. So that's an ideal fit for the Newcastle Falcons, kind of fit in where needed, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her playing more kind of that forward position. They lack depth in the wings position, but also I think she'll be a good option to chuck in at the 4 spot. So I think the best is yet to come from Giselle Havas. A player to keep an eye out for, because I wouldn't be surprised to see her eventually enter the starting lineup. I'm not too sure where, because there's a lot of talent on this Newcastle team, but if she's going to lead that bench unit, that is a huge privilege for Coach Christie. Now, we'll see if they can beat the North Bears this weekend. I think the biggest headache for the Newcastle Falcons is going to be how they defend North's guards. With Martin and Morgan and Maddie O'Hehir, that's a huge task for the perimeter defense. I think in the paint, they're very sturdy, but having to stop those players on the perimeter is going to be very difficult. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised to see them win. This is a very quality side. Moving to the next team, I think could dethrone the Bears is the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles. Now, I've written here, only an idiot would underestimate the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles, and I mean that. Year in, year out, they've proved to be one of the best women's sides in the state, even in the country, I'd go as far as saying. Their only losses this season have come to the Albury-Wodonga Bandits, who we will get to in a moment, and the North Bears, but both of those were very narrow losses. The statistic that really stands out for the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles is their first in defensive rating. Coach Nate Kerwin runs a strict and intense defensive scheme. They really do not let up. On the ball, off the ball, you're not getting anything easy over the Sea Eagles. And I think that's really led to a lot of their success, not just this year, but throughout the past few years. Let's just go back to that loss against the North's Bears. They were looking dominant in the first 3 quarters. They were scoring with ease, getting downhill with ease. North looked totally out of their systems and out of their comfort zone in those first 3 quarters, but there's a bit of a lapse by the Sea Eagles and an impressive run by the Bears in the 4th quarter. They really kicked into gear and forced the overtime game. Just great performance by Ruby Perkins. Manly lost in the overtime period. There was almost a shot that went in by Taylor Wurtz. That would have been one of the hearts of the season. But a narrow loss to Norths. And look, I don't think they're going to take that to heart too much. That game really could have gone either way. But stepping up in that game was Taylor Wurtz, and she's had a great effect all season long for the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles. She's averaging 23 points per game and 5 rebounds, as well as she's averaging 23 points per game to go along with 5 rebounds. And she has had a similar effect to the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles that Jolene Anderson has for the Bears, but in a slightly different way. Taylor Wurtz is very assertive. She will just grab the ball and get a bucket. She's been impressive getting to the ring, shooting. I think she's looking to step up where Manly needs her, which I think is in the scoring department. Unlike Jolene Anderson, who's I think being more of a facilitator this year for the Bears. Of course, we do know they both played together back in Wisconsin, but we'll get back to that another time. She's a much-needed scorer, especially with Brie Delaney not suiting up this season. Those points are definitely needed from Taylor Wurtz, and she can just bully her way to the basket. She's a super athlete, and I think will fit in perfectly to this Manly system. Now, we've talked a lot about Manly on this channel. You can go and check out our old video on Manly. Check out our old podcast as well, where we previewed their season. One of the top programs, and we just had to talk about them even before this thing started. But just quickly, turn of Kim Dickinson, aka Kim Hodge. She's averaging 14 points per game, but you just gotta love her game. She's a great team player. You'll notice she'll score a lot, but barely needs the ball in her hands. Just out of pick and roll situations, well-timed cuts, every now and then a spot-up shot. But she's the perfect teammate to have. She's not going to hog the ball. And that's really opened things up for the rest of the Manly team. If you're running pick and rolls with Wurtz, with Zoe Miller as well. Having Kim Hodge rolling to the basket, I think, opens up a lot for the lethal shooters of the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles. And that's one thing about the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles. Again, similar to the North Bears, any given night, one of their players can step up and give you 20 points. And that hard-nosed defense, as well as that ball movement, has really led to their success this year. I think the X factor over North will be that paint presence. I think Bullman, Wurtz, and Dickinson put so much pressure on the paint. Norths will see if they can shore things up, but just looking at the highlights and the baskets from their matchup earlier this year, they were feasting in the paint, the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles. But then also with Wurtz, Dickinson, and Bullman, they just space the floor out, which opens up a lot of cutting lanes for players like Alex Delaney, who can ball handle, who can shoot, who can pretty much do everything. Alex Delaney. But of course, if you do want to see more about the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles, do check out our video and our podcast on them we did earlier this year, where we kind of cover a few more players. But Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles, they could definitely take down the North Bears. And it's so good anytime we get to see those two teams go head-to-head. I think we're going to get another matchup between them later this year. I think it's in the last or second last round, but would not be surprised to see these two teams meet in the finals. The final team that I think could take down the North Bears will be the Albury-Wodonga Bandits. Now, they are doing really well this year, statistically especially. Second in points per game, first in three-point percentage, and overall they've got the second best offensive rating. And they're also a good defensive team as well. They got a lot of length, a lot of versatility on that side. But a huge shout out to Sammy Mack, who's got a lot of new players on this team to work well together. He's got everyone singing from the same song sheet, as we like to say, but especially their new big three. Let's go through them. Caitlyn Jones, first of all, has been an absolute revelation, and she was my pick for MVP. Of course, there's plenty of players to pick from, so it was a hard choice, but I think Caitlyn Jones is showing that early on. I think she's top 5 in the MVP rankings at the moment. She's been doing it all for the Albury-Wodonga Bandits, averaging 23 points per game to go along with 5 assists and 5 rebounds. And get this, she's doing it off 45% shooting. Been super efficient, and I think You see shades of Michaela Pivec in her game. Obviously not totally the same, but that tall point guard who can just do it all. But I think Caitlyn Jones is actually a little faster, maybe a little less physical than Pivec, but it's been an easy transition to get Caitlyn Jones into that system, and she's been doing it from all over the court, shooting, dribbling into the paint and finishing strong, but most importantly, setting up her teammates. There's plenty of talent on this Albury-Wodonga team, and I think Caitlyn Jones has done a great job bringing the ball up and then getting the defense to move. I think she's very dynamic because you can't just sag off her and try to play the passing lanes because she will punish you, but definitely keeps that offense moving and has been setting up her teammates, especially one of her newest teammates, Lupher, who is just having an incredible season. Seriously incredible. Now, I know we say that about a lot of players, but she could potentially be the best three-point shooter in the country and is shaping up to be one of the best three-point shooters in NBL1 East history. I know it's a big call, and hopefully she sticks around for a few years, but Lupher has gone crazy from three-point land, which is what we expected coming into the season, but not this insane. She had 12 threes versus the Central Coast Crusaders, and even in her first game, had 10 threes versus the Canberra Nationals. That's incredible. Already this season, just 8 rounds in, she's got 42 threes to her name, and that's off a pretty solid 38%. So she's doing it efficiently as well. Lupher has just been sensational for this Albury-Wodonga Bandits side. And that's not to take anything away from her driving game. Of course, being a good shooter, you are taught to develop an off-the-dribble game, and she's proven to be able to get downhill and finish strong as well. So the ultimate scoring threat, Lupher, and she's complemented really well with Caitlyn Jones. But the third piece that has brought it all together for the Albury-Wodonga Bandits has really opened up things for the first two players we're talking about, has been Brynn Masikewich, the big. Now, for all the good guards you've got to have, there has to be a centre who can do it all, and Brynn has been bringing the heat in the paint, averaging 20 points, 11 rebounds, exactly what you'd want out of your big. She's had some huge scoring performances this season. 28 points versus Manly. That's not easy as well. Manly's got some great bigs. And then 29 points versus Hills a little more recently. She's just been dominant and exactly what you want out of your centre. She's been great in the pick and roll situations, again, which really opened things up for Caitlyn Jones and Lupher. Being around on that pick and roll, being able to set off-ball screens to get the shooters open, that's been great. You get your best players some good open looks, but then there's the danger of her rolling to the ring and finishing strong, which she has game in, game out. That's a great big three. Jones, Lupher, Masikewich, and they complemented really well. I gotta say they're fourth starter, but one of our favourite players in the league is Mahady, who is averaging 10 points per game, and she is back in a big way. I think struggled with injuries last season. We saw her towards the end, but it's good to see her with a full preseason under her belt and looking very healthy out there. Still has, I think, a bit of strapping on that knee that she injured, but is looking just as dynamic as ever, especially when stretching the floor. She's always ready to shoot, always hands ready, always ready to go. And she's going to get a lot of open looks with some of these other offensive weapons that the Albury-Wodonga Bandits have, putting pressure on the defense. And Mahady has been benefiting. She's been killing it from the corners. And that's exactly what you want from Mahady. Spot up and shoot your shot. So Mahady and Lupher, wow. You're going to see a lot of three-pointers this year. And then you can see why they're first in three-point percentage, the Albury-Wodonga Bandits. And of course, there's plenty of returning casts that are holding the team together, gluing the team together well. Sarah Melling, Molly Rice back for another season, the legendary Molly Rice. And also big shout out to Mel Kirby, who's been a great glue player all season. Some young guns as well to keep an eye out for, Alira McCowans, as well as Claudia Hocking. They're slowly rising through the system and getting more and more minutes as the season goes along. I wouldn't be surprised to see them fit that kind of Liz Murphy role, who was another Albury junior who rose through the ranks and became a big part of their success in NBL1 East level. So keep an eye out for those two youngsters. The only issue, I think, though, is they are fourth last in bench scoring. So we did mention some of their role players just then. If they can start to kick it up a little bit and chip in a little more, I think that would take Albury to the next level. But it's definitely not something to panic about with your starters putting up such big numbers. I cannot wait to see Albury versus North. It's going to be a insanely good matchup. Two great coaches going head to head. Of course, some honourable mentions to the Centre of Excellence and the Maitland Mustangs. Centre of Excellence, just quickly, look, they did have a chance to beat North, but looked a little sluggish a couple of weeks ago. They've got some great young talent. Fagan and Russell had great games. But of course, towards the end of the season, you do see COE players moving on to college, and they've got international obligations as well. So that's why I didn't include them in this list. And the Maitland Mustangs, who hopefully we will do a video and a podcast about soon, they've looked to really go to that next level and solidify themselves in that top 5 teams. But we will do a video on the Maitland Mustangs women soon. But a big shout out to Coach Granger in his first year. He's really getting the best out of the talent up there in the Hunter. So let me know what you think in the comments. Send us a message. Can the North Bears be beaten? And if so, who will it be? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share it around. We don't get paid to do this, so please, a bit of love and some likes goes a long way. Until next time, thank you for joining us on Too Fit into Pain.